Thank you for joining us. Today's guest will be Gabriel Albornoz, the director of the county's recreation department and the co-chair of the age-friendly initiative here in the county. Thank you so much for joining Jerry and I this afternoon. We understand that you will be a guest at the Montgomery County chapter MML meeting next week, and we wanted the opportunity to sit down and talk to you about the department that you run, the Age Montgomery Initiative. Yes. Give us some more information about it so we can share it with residents throughout the county.
Great.
And so, Gabe, tell us about this initiative. How did it start? What are the goals? We'll start there.
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you both for your service to your municipalities in our county. I've had the opportunity to work with both you guys, and really it's an honor and privilege to be on the show today and here in beautiful Tacoma Park. So the Age Friendly Initiative launched about 8 years ago, really. The county executive, when he came on board, saw the demographic shifts that were happening in the county and acknowledged that the county needed to do more to be more strategic and align the services provided to our older adult population so that we can be more efficient and better provide wraparound services. And so he hosted a senior summit that brought together community stakeholders from the public, private, nonprofit sectors, and to create a dialogue about how we can work more effectively together. Because the reality is currently our older adult population makes up 9% of the county, and that will more than double in the next 14 years. And so it will be over 20% of our county. And that has significant implications from an operational standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint. And I've been raised to always make sure that we take care of our elders. And that's the house that I grew up in, and that's the county that the county executive wants to make sure we provide. And so we want to ensure that we have the appropriate infrastructure and support services to make sure that people age comfortably, that they are healthy, and that they are safe in their communities, and as long as they want to live in their homes, to live in their homes. And so the Age Friendly Initiative has built on that summit that we had 8 years ago. We had another one 2 years ago as an update, and we've been working collaboratively ever since. And it includes all of the executive branch agencies that directly serve our senior community, and some of the ones that you may not immediately think of. It also includes the state's attorney's office, police, because elder abuse is a huge issue facing our country right now and in our county. And it also includes health and human services, libraries, recreation, fire and rescue, and the hospitals in our community and the nonprofit organizations as well. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we have a strong infrastructure in place to address the many and unique needs of our older adult population.
And so are there centers, are there offices throughout the county that are providing this service? How does a resident, say in Poolesville, that needs these services, how do they connect?
That's a really good question, because they can connect in a variety of different ways. They can find out services through the traditional means of their primary health care provider, but they can also find out about services through community and civic organizations and even faith organizations who play a really important role in this space to be able to provide support services for our communities as well. There's a program that we launched, well, I shouldn't say the county launched, it was really the community stakeholders that got together and brought this to the attention of the county, but it's an initiative called The Villages, which is basically volunteers that get together, oftentimes through faith-based organizations in collaboration with county government, to provide rides to seniors to be able to access healthcare services, to be able to access programs, services offered by the county, but also in the community. And so there are a variety of ways that people can find out about programs and services, but an important component of the strategy that we're trying to instill is to create more one-stop shops. The county has a 311 system now that's been instituted for almost 5 years. That is one of the many locations that folks can go to find out what's available for them.
And Tacoma Park does have a village, and we are providing rides to seniors. But does the county provide any grants to organizations that want to create a village?
I think that's the next phase. We hired a villages coordinator in a couple of years ago to help facilitate and organize, because these volunteer-run organizations are incredible, and you have some really dedicated community partners, but we just want to provide support, connect dots that need to be connected, provide space if folks need to convene a meeting, and obviously we don't want to have them be charged to access that space. But we also have access to the residents and the clients that need this service. And so sometimes putting up a website or having a phone number available isn't enough. You have to go into the community, and through our senior centers and through our primary care facilities offered through Health and Human Services, we often know where a number of these residents reside, and so we'll try to make that connection with the village's volunteers.
And do you offer anything specific for those residents that want to age in place and those type of issues that surround that type of senior?
So we offer multiple services from multiple different angles. One of the services that's offered by our fire and rescue department is for firefighters to come into homes and track and make sure that homes are safe from an emergency perspective, to ensure that there are fire alarms that are in working order, to make sure that there is a plan in place should there be an accident or an emergency. And so we're doing more house calls than we have before. It's tragic when in the county we have the loss of life, which has happened as recently as this year, in a fire in which 2 older adults perished. And so we have to take that very seriously. The issue of falls is another very serious issue. People who fall and break a hip or a leg or a limb inside their home, that can be a life and death situation if somebody doesn't have somebody else as a care provider taking care of them. And so we're working on, from a health and wellness perspective, ensuring healthy living through a bone builders program that we're offering for free through our community centers and our senior centers. But we also want to be a tool and a resource for seniors as well. And that's why folks can call 311 to find out about programs available to them.
Jerry, I don't want to hog all the time. I know you have plenty of questions.
Can we count on these services being available? Because there's a lot of pressure, budgetary pressure on the county to provide a myriad of services to a myriad of clients. And how is this going to be funded? And what's the long-term outlook for its funding?
So there are, I think, 3 elements to that to answer your question, Jerry. The first is going back to something I said earlier. No one entity, whether it's government or hospitals or community stakeholders, can address this issue by themselves. It has to be done holistically, and it has to be done in a coordinated fashion. And so that's the role we're trying to play in government, is to be the convener and to create a time and space for people to have open and honest dialogue and conversations about how we can better align our services. So that doesn't cost us anything. It's just creating that time and space and coordinating those services. There are significant senior housing needs in the county, and they are growing, and they are growing exponentially. And so while we want to keep people in their homes as long as is reasonable, there will come a point that people can't safely live in their homes by themselves without a full-time primary care provider, which, as we know, is very expensive. And so the executive has been trying to partner through public-private partnerships where opportunities are available, particularly in denser communities that are closer to mass transit, that have more walkable communities where folks can go to grocery stores just down the street or up the block. And so, but the county shouldn't be doing that by itself, and the private sector can't do it by itself because the numbers don't work for them. So that's where we need to meet part of the way and find a sweet spot to create housing opportunities. And the third thing I'd say about it is within our existing county services that are already funded, we need to be more intentional about creating opportunities. One of the programs I'm most proud of that we've instituted within the Recreation Department since I've been there in the last 10 years is a program called Tech Connect. These days, to find information, you got to go online. And unfortunately, that is more and more the case. With the loss of some of our local newspapers and publications, everybody's being driven to the internet. And that disproportionately puts our senior population at a disadvantage, using my own parents as an example, because they just don't feel comfortable accessing technology. They're overwhelmed by it. So we created a program in which we've got seniors in high school that are trained, that are paid to actually teach senior citizens how to use technology. So we're providing kids with a job, and we're teaching seniors in a very meaningful way, in a tangible way, how to better access the world around them. And they can order groceries online, they can order medications online, they can take advantage of county programs and services, they can get entertained online. So there's a lot there that we hope to do more of, and we need to be a little bit more innovative.
Thank you. So, but you are saying there is you support a public-private partnership, say with local churches and stuff like that, because I know like St. Mary's of Barnesville, they already have a group that
100%.
volunteers to drive men and women to doctor's appointments or to the grocery store.
Absolutely.
You know, I think St. Peter's in Poolesville does the same.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, our mosques, our synagogues, our churches, people of all faiths are doing an amazing job. And really writing the book, frankly, on how to really, another favorite program I have is a partnership with the Chinese American Senior Services Organization. And that is the most well-attended program we have, and it's because their kids drive their parents to that program. And it's just ingrained. It's just part of the deal. They know in those families that they're going to take care of mom and dad as they get older. And so, you know, where there's an opportunity to do that, we want to support those efforts and maximize them and make them even better.
What about like community service hours for high school and middle school students to help these out, which then you don't have to pay anybody for,
Yes.
because then they're doing it free because they want to get the community service hours in order to graduate. So is that a thought?
Absolutely, absolutely. So our Tech Connect program that I mentioned earlier is an example of us creating programs that are specifically multi-generational in nature. And we want to do even more of that. And we want to make it easier for our youth, because not only is there a benefit to the seniors who are receiving some level of service, but the cross-pollination, the social interaction that happens between an older adult and a youth is beautiful. I still remember one of my favorite stories in recreation is I was on board for about 2 years, and we had this thing called a senior prom, where we had kids in high school who partnered with the local senior center and had a dance. And this woman came up to me, Jerry, and she had tears in her eyes, and I thought something was wrong. And I said, you know, ma'am, what can I do? And she said, that was the first time I've danced and laughed since my husband passed away 5 years ago. So that has such an impact. And the youth that observed all of this and danced with this senior, I'm sure, is going to remember that for the rest of her life as well.
Yeah, I know Poolesville High School students went down to Quince Orchard when they had a couple of the senior proms at Quince Orchard High School.
Awesome.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jerry.
Oh, one other question. Being parochial,
Yes.
Poolesville, we have a Poolesville Senior Center or citizens group, and I know that the village's presentation was made a couple years ago, I believe, to the seniors group. Since we're out there and we allow local groups to use our town hall, is there any thought of having like an outreach or a satellite program either at town hall or at the Poolesville Maggie Nightingale Library?
Absolutely.
That where people would come out on a regular basis and seniors could meet there and be afforded the opportunity to learn about these programs and things that could help them.
Without a doubt. I will follow up with our age-friendly advisory board, and we'll get somebody out there to make a presentation.
All right, thank you.
Gabe, you said something very interesting, that this was an initiative by the county executive. Next year we will have elections.
Yes.
And you yourself are a candidate for at-large county council member.
Yes, thanks.
Is the initiative codified? How do we ensure that the next county executive, and it's known to everyone that that Ike Leggett is not on the ballot. How do we make sure that the next county executive continues this programming throughout the county?
So that's a good question, and there are a couple of things there. One, we, in just the last month, released a 3-year strategic plan, because, and we were intentional about making sure that it was 3 years so that we could bridge to the next administration. I strongly believe that this will be an issue during the campaign season, because it has to be. This is a critical issue facing us in the county. Our older adult population is the fastest growing demographic by a mile. And it's important for all of the prospective elected officials. And so far, I haven't seen any that have not been interested or supportive of this effort as a whole. And that's something that's been ingrained in the county. I've grown up and lived here my whole life, and it's always been taught to me to take care of your neighbors. And that's one of the many things I love about this county. And we're going to continue that legacy, I'm sure, in the next administration, regardless of who wins.
So, Gabe, finally, please tell us how viewers, our colleagues that are representing the 21 cities and towns in Montgomery County can contact your office or the Age Friendly Initiative and start this type of program locally.
So the first is to, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning, this initiative is being co-chaired by my colleague and close friend, Uma Oluwalia, who's the Director of Health and Human Services.
I know Uma well.
She's a rock
fantastic.
Star. She's a rock star. We're very fortunate to have her in our county. And
yes, we are.
I feel blessed to call her a friend.
Yes.
You can contact either one of us in either one of our offices, and we're easy to find on the county's website. For specific program information, I'd suggest contacting 311. But if you email both of our offices, and the municipalities are a key partner in this effort, I mean, without a doubt. And so I'd love to be, in the next phase of this conversation, even more intentional about figuring out tangible ways for us to be able to work collaboratively together. Because some of the hospitals are located within municipalities, and the hospitals are represented on this group, but I think the municipalities could have a more prominent voice in this group as well. And that's something I'll talk to Uma and the county executive about.
Well, Gabe, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks.
And look forward to you and your colleagues at our chapter meeting next week.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.